Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final match of the Career Day tournament that is going on right now. Winter is always a bit drafty. We have Game 5 of our grand finals between Judgejoe on the winner's side and Dryzalizer coming from the loser's side. This is the last game of the tournament. Winner of this game wins the tournament. The loser, unfortunately, becomes runner-up. Judgejoe, coming from the winner's side, started this grand finals up 1-0, won game 2 with a bit better DPS strategy, and then Dry took game 3 and 4. So here we are in game 5. If you are unfamiliar with this tournament in particular, what we do is a 4-job mode. And our racers get to choose and ban to choose 4 different jobs. Tonight, we have a dancer, chosen by Judgejoe, a black mage and a summoner chosen by Dry, and a freelancer to round it all up, also chosen by Joe. So, looking to be exciting, looking to be a lot of status effects, looking to be quite a bit high powered. They're gonna have to figure out how to deal with the end game here, particularly with the Almagest ending here. But this is going to be pretty interesting. These races have all been very, very close. Certainly some of the closest matches we've had on Career Day. For those of you unfamiliar, Career Day is the open world randomizer of Final Fantasy V, where the goal of it is to beat NeoXF at the end of the void. To do so, we have to get all 4 tablets, where we're starting with 1, so they need to find 3 more. They can be anywhere. Also, I want to give a thank you to Lily Spikes, who is going to be tracking behind the scene and may also pop in for some commentary.
Hello.
So we are going to get our races started, and we will see what they do after their sort of standard opening here. If you are new and have not seen this before, welcome. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat. The beginning will be pretty interesting, but also pretty boring because we won't expect too much divergence. But let's see what they end up doing. Let's hope that this is a race that is going to be as close as the previous 4 or 3 games. Judgejoe was the one who dropped Dryzalizer into loser's bracket, so Dry did climb back up to have this match happen. Again, these races have been very, very close, and this should be pretty exciting. Joe loves to be aggressive, Dry a little bit more safe, and that actually swung the match in game 4, where Joe probably hit one of the 2 bosses that really does not like aggressive plays and got caught in probably the worst spot at that Twintania spot just right before the final boss. But we will see what happens tonight, and we have our racers starting off in World 1 in Bart's World, going right into Tycoon Castle. They're going to get their opening loot here. They're going to be talking to the king here at the very end, getting one of our 15 hints in the game, trying to give you some direction of where to go. There are a number of checks in this game, and we do not want to see all of them if possible, so we have a hint system that should guide you close to where to go or tell you where to avoid. Just starting off, we do have one of the greater items to find in Tycoon Castle, the Lemius Tiara. We have a dancer that is a dancing piece of equipment and changes the sword dance attack, which is what we want to generally see on our dancer to use, from a 25% chance to a 50% chance, taking away that tempting tango ability that inflicts charm if they are not immune to charm. However, it may not. You probably do want to put that on. We're probably not looking for sword dances immediately. The Jitterbug Duet, which removes the that's an interesting one. That removes that saps HP from an enemy. It'll probably do a little bit more damage in the beginning of the game. But it does depend on what we actually get in terms of equipment here. We do get the Karnak has the Ifrit's Fire. And what that means is that we need the steamship key to get access to the back of the library. Will that be important? Who knows? We see Joe, both of our racers going into World 3. Joe is going to go stop at Kusa Castle or Sealed Castle here, pick up 3 of 12 items, generally pretty high tier, and Dryzalizer is going to head to the Void. I expect them to both sort of swap positions at this point. We're really just looking for something that is high power. We have a Summoner and we have a Black Mage, so that Sage's Staff not going to do too much. We do have a Freelancer, so not too bad, but that Excalibur, the Apollo's Harp is going to be really nice. And the Bahamut Esper magic as well. So we finally have a seed in which Summoner is chosen, and there's an actual tier 5 summon sitting in Sealed Castle. Normally, it's when you don't choose a Summoner, we see the really good summons in Sealed Castle, and you just get really sad. But we do see Judgejoe taking the Apollo's Harp, the Excalibur, and the Bahamut. I expect Dry probably to go the same route here. Again, we see our little swap position. Dry likes to go up here to Rugor, get another hint before he goes into Sealed Castle. The Apollo's Harp, if you're unfamiliar with that, that does massive damage to undeads and dragons 8 times, whereas the Excalibur does holy damage. We do see that the Ribbon Girl in World 3, I check you can only get in World 3, does give you the Fire 3 spell, which is great to find early. That is one of the better spells you can find immediately. We also see Wizard Rods that will boost the elemental damage by 50%. So we're certainly going to want to buy that at this point. We have a Black Mage with Fire 3 that will get online after, say, the Wind Shrine or the first boss. We will more than likely see. And then you can sort of just destroy the World 1 checks if you really wanted to, barring some couple of bosses. We also did find a Mirage Vest in the Void. That is also a wonderful item that inflicts or puts image on your characters, and because of a bug in the Super Nintendo version, it can be refreshed as soon as you get your turn by just swapping around 2 items in your item menu. So really nice on that Dancer. Dancer is a very squishy class and likes to be in the front row for rather obvious reasons. It's a physical class, although the damage is counted as magic in Dance. But having that Mirage Vest means that it will not take physical damage as long as that image is there. We are going to also look for things like Golem, just to get additional physical sort of damage absorb. But we do see Judgejoe going into Tool. Again, sort of standard start here. There's 1 monster in the box that will give us a Goblin, get everyone to level 2. We see a free running shoes in Tool Pass, and that is not the strangest place I've seen running shoes in this tournament, but it's certainly one of those ones that make you say, how did that get down here? Running shoes gives you haste. Certainly one of those statuses that is absolutely broken. Haste is probably the most significant status you can have. You just greatly increase the number of turns relative to anything else. So certainly something great to have early. We're going to be looking for more of those. We do not have a Time Mage. In fact, the Time Mage, I believe, was banned. So that is going to be our way to get haste, and the other one is going to be if we find a Moss, and maybe we can equip that on the Freelancer and use that as an item. We see Dry doing the Pirate's Cave check that Joe does skip. Diamond Shield there in the Sildra spot, which is a massive underroll, just to go with the running shoes, which is a massive overroll. And a Rune Axe, but nothing really too good there. Rune Axe is a lot of money. That's just going to be something you sell for 20,000. Forget about it. There's no good accuracy there. We do get a Dragoon Spear from Tool. That is going to be really nice on dragons, if we didn't already have the Apollo's Harp. The Apollo's Harp is going to be something to Dry. I expect to go back into Sealed if that's not what he got. And so the Excalibur, I didn't actually see which was his second weapon there. But if he didn't get the Apollo's Harp, he will get that as soon as he gets the second tablet. The Apollo's Harp is going to basically destroy Grand Cross at the end of the game. A Defender also in Tool, or in Wind Shrine here, our sort of first boss, is also very a nice find, but with an Excalibur, you're probably going to use that unless we run into a boss that is immune or absorbs holy, which there are a couple in this game that do so. Minotauros and Biblos being two of the main ones.
Gargoyles as well.
Gargoyles as well, thank you, Lily.
And the hints that we've gotten so far, Steamship is in World 3, and Subkey is in World 1.
Yeah, those hints are certainly important. Thank you for reminding me of those. I didn't make mention of that. We do see our resident Red Lizard here at the Wind Shrine. Need to do as much damage as possible, otherwise you're just going to trigger reset here. Joe does not really have the power to... yeah, Ice, I don't know if this is really going to work out. I don't think you have enough charges of Ice to really do this. I assume what Joe's going to do is maybe do a couple of Ices and then see if he can get an X-Cal for the kill, but that X-Cal hit was only doing 100 damage, so he's going to need 6 packs of Ice. Dry is going to be in a similar position, more than likely. He does have a Venom Rod. Okay, this might work. Yep, alright. Just barely gets to that 250, but... or maybe doesn't. Alright.
He didn't because of the regen tick.
Ah, yes, Omniscient with regen. Well, you know exactly how much you need to do here. We do have an Ice Rod that will do enough. Okay. Probably wanted to hold on to that Ice Rod, but is going to sacrifice it in order to get through this first boss here. It's a good boss to see early on because get later in the game, it gets more and more annoying. But we do get our Omniscient. We're going to see if we start off with a key item off the bat. Nope, just a gold shield. Not worth anything really at all. But we do get our rewards at the top of the Wind Shrine here. Generally, we get some pretty good items. We'll see what we get this time. We get another tiara and a dark suit. Other than that, pretty substandard right there. Nothing really too happy. Dry's gonna run into a similar thing with the Omniscient not being able to cast that Fire 3 right away. We did pick up the Doom spell actually in Lix, and Joe is gonna find this as well. Doom being one of those instant kills if you have it available. Very huge to have, very rare to see it somewhere in World 1, but it is always the fastest way to kill a boss when you do not have to take out its HP. So things like Doom, things like Break, or Shout, or Odin, in terms of the summons, those are things we're really going to be looking for to really get past some of those high HP spots quickly. And Shout you normally find several times in the randomizer. Odin only appears once, and sometimes it can be very buried, so there's no guarantee we ever find Odin. But it's likely we find Shout and Golem just being those lower tier summons. Of course, now we may have Bahamut. No, we do not have enough MP for Bahamut just yet. So we're going to have to do maybe 1 or 2 more bosses until that gets online. But we do see Joe going to the sort of standard second check here in Torna Canal to get you to the ship graveyard. Dry is coming up on this Omniscient. And we see Necro. I am sure Joe is absolutely loving seeing this here and not at the Twintania spot. If anyone caught the game for Necro, is certainly the turning point at that spot. So seeing this early instead of in the Deep Void, significantly better. In the Deep Void, it casts Holy and Flare and likes to take the first turn, and it doesn't generally go well with you, for you. You do see Dry taking out that Omniscient quite a bit faster than Joe was able to with that Fire 2 spell. Just getting Gold Shield there. I feel like I may have missed Joe going into the shop that had Doom and Lix. I hope I didn't, but maybe I did. I am trying to watch 2 screens at once, and sometimes that is a bit difficult. But we do see Necro is going to get rid of the his barriers, flash our entire party, not inappropriately, but just making them all blind. And now he's weak to every element, including the Holy from the X-Cal. But now you just need to really do anything. Fire 2 will certainly kill this Necro at this point. It's only 650 HP here. With that Excal hit, does more than enough damage, and that is one of the more terrifying bosses immediately out of the way. We do see Dry picking up, using that second TR and equipping it on a mage. It does give you quite a bit of magic attack here. We do see also a big bridge key coming out of Tornec Canal. That will get us to the Greg 2 vanilla spot. No reason to go there now. 6,500 HP, I believe, there. But it's a quick check whenever we decide to do the World 2 checks. But for now, we're going to go and continue through the ship graveyard. We're getting quite a good number of defensive gear with the dark suits just kind of showing up everywhere. We'll see if we can find a cheeky gum or a cheeky shoot from one of these chests. Like I said, I don't expect either of them to be hard to find. You're going to more than likely find it in a World 1 or World 2 shop. But if you can get it for free rather than spending money, either 15,000 or 9 or 8,000, depending on how you find it, all the better for you. So you can buy what I'm sure is going to be a hilarious chicken knife and Mirage if we ever find the Mirage radar. But again, we do see Joe going through the ship graveyard. Dry is finishing up the Necro. So we will see when Joe pulls in from the ship graveyard, and then this is where your routes sort of start to diverge once you get past this point, because you have a lot of things open to you. Speaking of Greg 2, here's Greg 2, not at the big bridge today, but at the ship graveyard. 850 HP. After he gets about halfway done, he likes to buff himself up in terms of doing haste, shell, and armor. And this spot, that's actually pretty scary. You're not more than likely to, survive a jump. So hopefully you have a way through this. It's going to be a little bit of luck, as Greg is going to take a lot of actions really fast. Getting lucky there with that shield block on Ferris, and gets through the Greg 2 fight. So very nicely done. A little bit of luck there, never hurts. And we do get a little fraud in there, so not too important that we'll actually be able to sort of psych out some MP if we decide to put it on. May be useful for that summoner who currently is working with quite a low amount of MP. At the same time, one Bahamut cast will kill the majority of bosses at this point in the game, so you don't need too much more MP than you currently have, assuming you're okay with healing between fights. We could get a Chocobo summon. That's nice. Joe didn't buy it. I can only imagine why. Other than that, nothing really going on in terms of these shops here in Carwin. I'm gonna pick up some of these barrels, some of these chests here. Sometimes you get something good here. Nothing going on in this town. Not gonna go to the bar and check the 4th item in that town. It's fine. And then Joe is going to make the decision of, I do not want to lose to North Mountain 1. I'm gonna run up here and do this check, instead of waiting for the Mirage Raider to show up and do it in World 3. Which is fair. This is one of those checks that some people do like to put off until quite late in their run, if not until they have the Mirage Raider, just to avoid double dipping this place. But in Open World Randomizer, in particular this setting here, it could be a while until you get the Mirage Raider, and if this has the item that you need, such as a tablet that's unhinted, or maybe even the sub key that we know is somewhere in World 1, not getting that is huge. We do see Shiva here. Should go down pretty quickly if you have the MP to cast Bahamut. That will certainly do it for this fight. Fire, also a very nice spell here.
One multi-target fire 3 should take it all out.
Yes, but Joe does not have Fire 3, because that was a Ribbon Girl and Rugor, and Joe does not route that way in World 3. Dry, on the other hand, will certainly be able to do that. Assuming that he has the MP, which I'm not entirely sure because, well, his mages have died every single fight. So he'll have to cast Fire too, assuming that he ever, well, assuming he refreshes MP. But nothing too bad here. Pretty weak spot, all things considered. We do have Ifrit actually on the summoner, so that will come in handy. And we get a gold hairpin, not a key item, but an item that we certainly want to see with our mages here. Halves the MP cost of any spell we want to cast. That's big for Bahamut, who costs 66 MP per cast, and for Fire 3, which costs like 50. So that will certainly go on one of our two mages. No reason not to. Rye's going to put it on the Black Mage. And Joe is going to go right into World 2 and shop Sergei Castle here, where we do find a Shoat and we also find a Rainbow Suit, two items we very much want to buy. Shoat being that summon that casts Break or Stone on an enemy. Again, one of those instant kill options that this team has. Rainbow Suit basically does what the Tiara does, but except on the shirt or on the armor rather than the headgear, which is important because we would prefer to have ribbons, if we find them, on the head side of our dancer and our freelancer. I assume Joe's sort of idea is he's going to want dance and say summon or black on that freelancer so that you can equip, say, an X-Cow that we currently have and have them dance. We see Dry staying in World 1 for now. Is actually going to go to Waltz Meteor here. Waltz Meteor being one of the higher EXP checks that we have in World 1 for whatever reason. You generally get 14 to 16 levels from this if you're going at like level 4. Get a bit lower because we're already we're not at the normal level here, and we do see Bahamut, which is great to see early. This can ruin your day at later spots. We do see that the Great Trench is Path to the Void on Joe's side from the Sergei hint. That does mean we need both the Trench page and the sub-key. We currently know that the sub-key is somewhere in World 1. We do not know where in World 1, but we know it's somewhere there. So if you weren't going to do World 1 checks, for whatever reason, despite them being some of the fastest checks available, you now have a very hard reason to check World 1 checks. That doesn't mean it's currently available. There are plenty of World 1 checks that we don't have access to. So perhaps it's through that steamship, and, well, we know where the trench page is. Okay. So it turns out that both the trench page and the sub-key are in World 1. Just need to find that other item. But it could be through the Ifrit's Fire spot, which requires us to do something in World 3, because we need the steamship key to get to Ifrit's Fire. But again, that's something we will worry about once we get to that point. Joe is going to follow Dry into Waltz Meteor first. Dry is going to go into Waltz Kingdom. He'll get a couple items in the basement here. He'll check the hint and then go fight the Shiva spot. So I guess you could say that perhaps that Shiva was French Vanilla. Joe not saving, or not healing, he did save. Got kind of destroyed from the Bahamut there. Is going to come back a bit later. We do see that Bao Castle is Path to the Void, so that's a nice hint. That could either be referring to the Abductor spot in World 2, where Joe is going right now to try to get some XP, or it could be that Odin spot in World 3. And then Dry is headed to the Shiva Vanilla spot. Generally pretty easy here too as well. Dry looks like he's going to be changing up a bit of his jobs here. Just get the Dragoon dance and get the Freelancer dance, and change over the dancer from the Freelancer so that he can sort of spread these abilities out. Timmy here, you can't break Timmy, you can do but it is innate shell, so it's very unlikely you hit it without Dispel. So one of those things you want to do here, if you have an Ice Rod, which we did get from Shiva, you want to break it. That to me is very weak to Ice, but even that probably doesn't kill in this spot. But that would be your fastest way. If you have an Ice spell, that's what you want to use. Ice 1 is pretty weak, honestly. Might be best to see how much an Ice Rod break will do to Timmy and see what you have to deal with. Meanwhile, we have a late game boss in the Shiva spot, the Panda. Very weak to fire, so you can have a fun interaction with Ifrit if you decide to cast Ifrit, but that takes time. Just fire 3 your problems away. And that is a massive overkill. We see Joe into Kuza. This is a bit odd from Joe. He normally doesn't go to Kelb. Kelb. Quite early, but he does find the break spell, which is also a very nice spell. We do have Shoat here, and Shoat is a little bit more accurate than the break spell itself. We also know that the Solitary Island, or the Shrine, has the 3rd tablet, so that's also a World 3 check that requires the Shrine page. So things are starting to come together. We see Joe going up to Hiryu Mountain, or Hiryu Valley, as it is, or Drakenville. This is an interesting play. I like this play. You have a couple instant kills available with Doom and Break, so chances are even at lower levels you are going to be able to kill this boss. It is 12,000 HP, but again, HP doesn't matter if you are able to get an instant kill off. So we will see what's up here. But we also get some pretty decent loot generally from this place as well. So I'm assuming that's also going to be a reason why Joe is up here. But this is an area of the randomizer that a lot of people just like to skip. It takes a little bit of time. We do get a gold hairpin in there, so now we have 2 gold hairpins for our 2 mages. So not a bad find. All it's going to now depend on is what is our boss and can we kill it at low levels. If you are unfamiliar with Final Fantasy V as a whole, a lot of bosses are weak to a lot of status effects, and a few of them are instant kills. And so the randomizer becomes a game of how many times can you instant kill a boss, or how many bosses can you instant kill, and how many you set up to instant kill. And that's where your time really comes into gets faster once you start doing those sort of instant kills. You do see Dry going into Bal. He knows this is, I think he knows his path to avoid. I believe this was from the Waltz hint, so he's going to take this on, meet Timmy. We'll see if he has better luck. Meanwhile, we have Hiryu Valley. Biblo's here. Not heavy, not breakable. Not even sure if he's doomable, to be honest. Sword Dance is not going to do anything. In fact, doing something like Sword Dance is going to be problematic because he will use armor and drain, and then you just sad. Bahamut, you don't have the MP to cast Bahamut, so that's a no-go. You do have MP, but not to do 12,000 damage worth of Bahamut. Biblos is not weak to Doom, so yeah, that's a fight that Joe was not going to be able to win at this point in time. If he had fired 3, I still don't know if he had. Maybe with the gold hairpin, he probably did have the damage there. Dry would be able to do that, but unfortunately, Joe does not have fire 3, so doesn't get that sort of quicker kill. But he's going to come back here to Bahamut, it looks like, and hopefully get a little bit luckier than he did that first time and able to survive that first turn. Dry is slowly making his way for Adamant Timmy. Really wants to see whether or not this is the check he needs to do, or if it's going to be the Odin spotting World 3. Joe getting off Mega Flare before Bahamut even takes the turn. That will do it. So Bahamut, or no, that didn't do it. Okay. But Dry does get the bracelet. One of the 2 items required to get into Xdef's castle. That item in particular gets you upstairs in Xdef's castle. But ultimately, for right now, a worthless item, we cannot do anything with that without the anti-barrier. So if that's our path, or if that is our path to the void, we need the anti-barrier, and then our item is going to be in either the Carbuncle spot or the Greg 4 spot, right before Xdef. The Adamant. Joe gets his French page. The Adamantite is in World 1. That gets us to Flying Wonka Ruins. That gets us 2 more checks in the World 1, possibly where our sub-key is hiding. Let's see what Dry does with the information he has now. Writing down those hints, gonna go into World 1. I expect a few meteor cleanups. Joe finding that Bolt 3 here in Waltz. Probably a little bit sad he didn't have this about 5 minutes ago. But
sorry, what was that hint?
The Adamantite is in World 1 from the back of Battle. Dry is gonna go into Tycoon Meteor. Again, just sort of clearing this up. Archaeoavis, too low of HP here. That's probably about 500, a little less than 500 HP per turn, per phase, so there's no real quick kill that you're going to be able to get here. But should go down pretty quickly. You're going to have to do 5 attacks here. Archaeoavis has 5 phases. After the 4th phase, he disappears and then revives. Each phase has a different elemental. Absorb, Affinity, whatever you want to call it. As Dry kind of just showed off, now Archaeoavis is absorbing lightning, so a fire spell will do it on his 4th phase, and now he is immune to all magics, but is weak against physical. So I don't know if a straight attack with this Dancer will do anything, but the attack with the Freelancer will certainly take care of this Archaeoavis. This is a spot you want to see at sort of a decently higher HP spot. It's not too bad, and if it's at the right HP spot, you can engineer a quick kill on this fight, because the phase change is indeed a counter. So if you are able to do a counter damage, or sap, or something like that, you can skip all your phases. Not too entirely sure if that works in terms of reflex strats either. It might, but I actually have not tried that myself. But we do get the Hear Call from Dryzalizer. That gets us to the Greg 3 spot in Manila on the boat. Not going to go there now. That's quite a bit higher level than we currently can deal with, more than likely, unless we can instant kill. I do not know if Dry has... he'll get his Shoat now, he'll get his Rainbow Suit. So he'll get that break spell online here. He'll get the actual break spell if he goes into Kelp, and he probably will. Just take care of the World 2 shoppings, whereas Joe is going to stay in World 1 and start hammering away at these checks as well. We're just sort of crossing each other's paths here. Joe's going to fight the Archaeoavis. He'll get the Hear You Call, and we'll see what he does. Rye, I expect, will be hanging around shopping for a little bit. Maybe also get some hints that we haven't seen. We haven't seen no one's gone into Karnak to get that hint. We haven't seen the library hint from Guido. We haven't seen the Moor hint in World 2. Dry is going to get his Kelp hint shortly. Not going to talk to the werewolves. Probably a good idea. Generally doesn't give you any good idea. So he'll get his mallet that the Shrine Page is in, or the Shrine Page is required and has the 3rd tablet. That can bring some pretty interesting things into play. If we end up going up to Xdef's castle, we will see if that indeed happens, or when that happens, really. Joe is through the Archaeoavis. If we want to buy more Phoenix Downs, we can. Probably not. Break Sword is sort of a reflex there. Now you can buy the Break Spell, that's actually useful. Same with that Bolt too. Joe is going to get his Hiryu call. Dry is going to warp shard out, maybe continue hammering on those world. Nope, going to go back into world 2. See if he goes to more. Maybe go to Big Bridge. Looks like he's going to more. Joe is going to try to take on this Odin spot. This is... We have Bolt 3, so maybe he can get away with damaging the spot here, but this is probably something that he is going to want to see if he can instant kill. We do get the deserts have no key items of value. That means that we do not need to follow a sandworm bait, and we do not need to go into the pyramid. A little bit sad, the pyramid generally has the best loot of any area, but it will now just sort of be a waste of time. But it is very possible. Say an Odin summon is hanging out in pyramid that we will now no longer get.
The Phoenix summon from the chicken knife spot.
Yep, as you were mentioning, the Phoenix summon, that is the cost of 99 MP, or 49 if you have a gold hairpin. You can fully revive a party member with full HP and MP. So you have 2 summoners, you can cycle that around. But, so it could be useful. It's generally high enough MP that if you aren't going to be cycling around your MP with dual Phoenix casting, a bit expensive to use, but certainly a nice summon to have, but not very damaging. Oh, our runners will not complain about that. Joe is going to see who this boss is at the Odin spot. Unlike vanilla, we do not have a 1-minute timer on this spot. That would be a little ridiculous, but we do get Ouroboros. This is a free fight. Let's see if this Bahamut does enough damage to knock them all into, no, okay, not even close. We'll have to cast Bahamut a second time. Hopefully the damage variance here isn't going to be so large that we're going to have a problem in terms of some of them dying and some of them not. Dry getting the Leviathan from the Karnak Meteor. Getting nothing from that, just a Wind Spear, but also a very nice boss to see early on because there has been a theme in this tournament and in previous tournaments that Leviathan likes to show up in very, very terrible places and wrecks your team if you're not prepared. That Bolt 3 may have actually been very nice to have because I'm not entirely sure 2 Bahamuts would have actually knocked out all these perp arrows. But that should do it pretty nicely with that extra 800 per bomb here, so no Cure 2s coming off. So very nicely done by Joe. He's going to get his Odin check. He'll get quite a few levels from this as well. And we will see if this is also a key item or if our path is through Xstuff's castle for that bracelet. It is the shrine page, and that is required. That does not mean Xstuff's castle is not required, but we do know that the shrine page is required to beat this game because we do have the hint saying that it is our 3rd tablet. Just because Dry got the bracelet from the Adamant Timmy that Joe is about to refight doesn't mean he's not going to go to Odin sooner rather than later. I expect him to also go to that spot pretty quickly as soon as he feels like he has enough power to take on whatever is there. Because you never know what a hint is referring to when it can be referring to 2 spots. But he's not going to be in a rush to do it now. He'll certainly go back. He'll certainly go there when he feels comfortable.
And there's Dry finally found the breakable rods. Karnak, I believe.
Yes, I believe. Yes, this is Karnak. I think there were some breakable rods elsewhere as well, but maybe not. Joe looks like he's still trying to do Doom strats against Timmy. Probably be better off using the Bolt 3 spell that he has. Again, just with the innate shell that Timmy has, hitting Doom is pretty hard, but he does get it eventually. Not sure if that would have been totally faster than just using Lit 3 that was seeming to do, or Bolt 3. That was seeming to do 900 and some odd damage that Dry was casting with. Joe sort of forgetting his little route here. Did already check those shops. Those are non-unique shops, but again, he normally doesn't go into Kelb early, so normally for him that is a unique shop, or at least a new shop for him, but not this time. One of the things I didn't remark on before was the fact that we got an Aegis shield. That is great to have on our freelancer if we don't find viable ribbons or something like that, because that is another way to avoid petrification, which helps in the final fight. Dry getting that solitary island is Path to the Void. I don't think we needed that hint. We already know that the shrine is indeed Path to the Void multiple times.
And the other hint that he got from Karnak, which was the other missing hint, was Bal Castle is Path to the Void. So we have both Bal Castles are Path to the Void.
And that is why Dry is immediately going to Odin here. Those that both the bracelet and the Odin spot are going to be our key items that we need. So that also does mean we are looking for the anti-barrier. Because we know that something in Xdef in the Carby spot for the Grand 4 spot up in Xdef's castle is a key item. We see Titan here at the big bridge. Just need to get rid of his HP, and then he casts Earthshaker, 400-500 damage, and then you win. Dry actually going for these very low value chests. We've seen in the past some really good items on the one chest that Dry just opened up. So maybe he's like remembering that from when Judgejoe did open that last chest cheekily and got something that was pretty huge off of it. But just a defender there. A good amount of money. Other than that, not something terribly worthwhile because we already have an X-Count. I think we already have a defender from the Wind Shrine. But Dry is going to run into his Purboros. Judgejoe is going to run into what looks like the Karnak Meteor, so we'll find his Leviathan. And we'll go from there. Like I said, racers are really just backtracing each other's steps. Dry is not tipping them over to the def until all of them are going to be about the same. So this should be successful in getting rid of the Purboros. He'll get his shrine page, and I believe we are nearly at check parity at this point. I'm trying to think what one person hasn't done that someone else has done, and I think the only knowledge that Joe has that Dry doesn't is that Byblos is sitting on top of Hiryu Valley, and the Titan at the big bridge. Whereas Dry knows, or Dry's been into Moor and has been to Rugor. Dry is actually going to go right into Shrine here. He says, I'm level 27. This probably won't get too much easier. Let me go loot this. Has to get through a 10,000 HP boss here first. It's Siren, choose your way to kill, and by choose your way to kill, I mean use Break or Shout. As I mentioned before, Shout is a higher accuracy spell than Break itself. And so if you have the option between Shout and Break, you want to use Shout as a higher base accuracy. Which is why Dry was initially in the black menu and then decided to go into the summon menu. There are 2 trap chests in the shrine here. They can be pretty annoying, but I don't expect us to shy away from them, especially at this point. Joe is going to go into the catapult and then probably do the Lanka Meteor that opens up from this check. We do know that the sub-key is somewhere in World 1. We know that the Adamantite is somewhere in World 1. We know the steamship is somewhere in World 3, but we also know that's not in Shrine because Shrine gives us the tablet. The point is, we don't know what's going to happen. Dry is going to run away from this Invisible. That is the longer of the 3 possible encounters you can get from a trap chest, and now is going to run into a Pantera, which we can instantly kill with Break. So that time, running away is certainly save time. Invisibles have sort of 3 different phases attached to that monster in a box, so it can take a long time. We do get a Brave Blade from that trap chest, the best sword in the game. We get Ring Raptor and Catapult. Bolt 3 will do this, but so would a Doomcast. Bolt 3 might be a little bit faster in terms of animation. We get the Elder Branch. That opens our way to more Forest, which then opens our way to Fork, and Joe really likes to do Fork Tower. But we will see if he really does jump on that. Maybe hoping to spike a Steamship Key that leads into Ifrit's Fire, that may lead into the Adamantite, which may lead into the Sub-Key or something like that, but we will see. We got the Machine Head here, just going to want to damage it, Bolt 3, hitting it with a Brave Blade. Brave Blade is, if you have Dance on that Freelancer, which I believe Dry certainly does, Joe's probably going to be trending that way as well. My thing about swords is that swords really love to miss, and somehow it feels like you have more accuracy than using a dance and getting a sword dance rather than trying to attack normally. So this has been two trap chests that have shown sort of the two best weapons in the game, the Brave Blade and the Chicken Knife. The Chicken Knife is, despite the quote lower attack power, is a better weapon than the Brave Blade, not just because they re-equipped by more people, but because it actually has the correct formula for daggers, which is the only weapon in the game that's using the correct formula for daggers. So the higher agility that you get from the Chicken Knife, especially because in the randomizer we both max out the Brave Blade and the Chicken Knife. The Chicken Knife will actually do a bit more damage than the Brave Blade for a given swing, and with the Dancer we do not have to worry too much about the Runaway proc. We also do get a Man-Eater from the Shrine, which is also a nice item, probably not better than the Chicken Knife on any given thing. We do get the Moogle suit from Judgejoe that opens up the Moogle village. I get the 7, say mid-tier checks or chests in World 2 if Joe decides to go there. He may not, but he may take the chance there. Something like Sildra could be sitting there. The end of the shrine here, much worse than, say, the beginning and middle of it, but overall, I would say certainly worthwhile to go in here early. We get the Marigine and something, again, I would consider sort of French vanilla-ish, except, really, I guess, normally if you're thinking about vanilla, you go to Pyramid. Pyramid's where you fight Marigine, and then you can go to the Void or you can go to the Shrine. The Shrine then opens up Fort Tower. So I'd say this is pretty close to French vanilla. You can sleep Marigine. Now you just don't need to do any physicals. And in this case, Dance is not counted as a physical attack. It will not wake up someone who is someone who is asleep. We got Gargoyles in the library in the first spot. Not too bad to deal with, just Bahamut. And we get the Lost Tower key from the front part of the library, and we get the third tablet as we knew from the shrine here. But I think despite we need the tablet, but the two monster boxes were also sort of big rewards here with the Chicken Knife and Brave Blade both being found. That is huge in terms of a DPS increase. Joe is here in Rugor, something that Dry checked sort of as his opening route. I do not know if this is in World 1 or World 2 or World 3, though. If it's in World 3, this is nice, because that means Joe will get his Fire 3. If it's in World 2, he's not going to be able to. We'll find out, based on whether or not he does go down and talk to the Ribbon Girdle. Dryzalizer is taking Boko on a walk. Really easy World 3 check. 8,100 HP, roughly. Doesn't look like Judgejoe is doing this in World 3, so he will not be getting the Fire 3 spell, unfortunately. Atmos here, we can do the exact same thing we just did to Marigine and put Atmos to sleep. He is going to take the time to do that. He doesn't want to see a slow 2 cast coming off here. Now you can pick up Ferris if you really wanted to. He's going to elect to do so. And then just hit Atmos for about 8,000 HP, and, you know, you get your free check. Joe is also giving us new information here with the Moogle Waterway. 5,000 HP check pretty early on. Quick, easy World 2 check. At this point, our players have plenty of power. Dryzalizer has quite a bit more power than Joe. But either way, should have enough damage dealing to deal with whatever stands in your way in Worlds 1 and World 2. Carbuncle here is a little bit unfortunate, very dodgy. The Dancer can get around this. But really, the best way you're going to be able to do this is just wait 3 turns, and the Carbuncle is going to change phase to be basically weak to a whole bunch of statuses, including Break, which is what we're going to use. Not weak to Doom. You cannot Doom cast Carbuncle, but you can certainly break Carbuncle. So what Joe's going to do is going to put his cursor on Fight. That cursor is going to drop automatically on a phase change, and that is going to be your sort of indicator to use Break.
So Boko had an unhinted tablet 4.
That is pretty huge. We do get a show from the Moogle Waterway here. The unhinted tablet 4, luckily, that's not something that I expect Joe to really miss out on. You can forget Boko. That is certainly a valid thing to do, but in terms of World 3 checks, if you're wondering where to go, that is where you're gonna check. It is by far the easiest check in World 3. So assuming you don't forget it, I expect Joe to also find that pretty quickly. We do get the Leviathan Summit from the Moogle Village, which is nice for sure. One of the better than the Bahamut, personally. Certainly one of the higher tier rewards I've seen from a sort of nerfed Moogle Village. Dry might just do sort of the same thing that Joe did. He'll get his Moogle suit from here, and then wander off into the Moogle Waterway and pair that up to Moogle Village. We'll see if the Waltz Tower... So this could be pretty big. If the Waltz Tower key has the sub-key, then we know our way through the seed. That would be sort of the... Oh, we don't know it. So yeah, sorry. Yes, if it has the sub-key, we're in no mode in the poof. At least we know relatively where no mode is. We know we have to follow into the trench to get our last tablet. So this is pretty huge if this turns out to be the sub-key. Unfortunately, one of the freest bosses in the game with the Abductor here at a 1200 HP spot. So this is huge if it is the sub-key, but it is the Adamantite. Continues on to our World 1 chains. We will actually know pretty quickly after this. Actually, no. Sorry, we know this, this cannot lead to the sub-key. And we know that because we need to be able to go up Exif's castle. So this could lead to the anti-barrier, which would be an interesting wrinkle. But something in Exif's castle in either the Carbuncle spot or the Greg 4 spot must lead us to, I guess, the steamship key. To then get either Ifrit's fire or the sub-key directly from, say, the steamship. So this is interesting. Dry's actually going to check the front of the library as well. He'll get his Waltz Tower key. Or apparently I'm misreading a lot of the hints. So we did get a double hint for Bell Castle, right? Both being that... Or we got 2 hints. Bell Castle was Path to the Void.
I believe so.
We did. Then I'm trying to think how Exif's castle would be required here. Because the sub-key is sort of our double. But Trench, we know Trench is Path to the Void. So Joe is going to go here. We don't know if this will give a tablet, but whatever comes from here is something we need to follow. This does mean that the walls or that Fork Tower is not required to seed, which unfortunately might be bad news for Joe, because Joe really likes to go Fork Tower, but at the same time, I don't expect him to go Fork Tower before going into Boko's Cavern here. Yes, the Trench could give the anti-barrier. Thank you for pointing that out, Trench gives the anti-barrier that does solve the conundrum quite easily. In fact, now that you say that, I think it does have to. Dry forgetting to hold right, entering that room and going up the sort of vines of shame there in the middle, is going to get his adamantite, is actually going to get the sub-key from that first spot from the other free boss, or one of the other free bosses in the game, and should immediately go and leave just like Joe did and go right into a Trench, and then follow that up to the end here. I did mention before to Lilian behind the scenes that Joe is known for having a lot of jet seeds in the finals of tournaments. This is no exception. We're looking to get a very early go mode for at least one of our racers, if not both of our racers, assuming they don't get turned around. I mean, it could be a chain, but there's no mystery about where our racers will have to go. So, again, Joe's chanting up there. He's going to go up to the Flying Walker runes as well. Realize that he probably didn't need to tent, because throwing a Phoenix down 80% of the time will work. We do get 3 hints from the dwarves here. If one of them says that Boko... Nope. None of them giving him a hint that Boko will have the 4th tablet. I did get confirmation that that XF Castle is Path to the Void. We do see ribbons for sale in the Trench shop here. We're going to probably buy 2 of them. The Freelancer and the Dancer can both wear them, and that is by far the best headgear that we can have for those 2. Dry will need to leave the screen in order to warp shard. You cannot do it from that screen. But yes, is immediately leaving. If he's been checking his hint or following his hint, he knows exactly where to go. The other shop had a Mirage Vest and a gold hairpin. 2 gold hairpins are enough for this party. We are more than likely going to want the ribbons on the other 2 characters. We could do a status glitch with the characters we have. It's not really necessary. You might want to do that for the Summoner and the Black Mage leaving into the Neo Exta fight just to make them immune to stone. But what's going to be interesting is if Joe, who's known for playing aggressively, if he's going to go and check the monsters in the box and the shrine. Simply because the shrine held both the Brave Blade, which is sort of on the way in the hidden chest, and the chicken knife, which was certainly out of the way. So it'll be interesting to see if Joe manages to find either of those. Because that is, quite frankly, huge in terms of DPS. To have both of those versus not having either of those, or just not even having the chicken knife. Unfortunately, we have no float caster, so hopefully you have high potions to heal from this. Joe does. Kind of one of the more annoying layouts here, because you are supposed to use float to go up the lava, or you have the Geomancer mastered. Carpos. No insta-kill available here, but very, very weak to lightning, so bolt 3, or then continue to bolt 3, and then just continue to bolt 3. The Dancer's in the back row. I don't know if the Dancer has a bow. Might have a bow attached where it's not going to matter. But bolt 3 is going to be your real damage against this boss. It's 40,000 HP, it's quite a bit. But, again, when you're doing 6,000 a pop here, not too bad. Dry, on the other hand, skipped the, did not go to the Moogle Village. I don't know if he's going to bother going afterwards, and get that Leviathan cup, or not. We will find out. And we just pulled 3 until the lobster is dead. Exactly what Joe did. Dry is going to need to start selling some things here. But we do get Odin. That is a wonderful find, I am sure. Joe is happy to see that, and Dry will be as well. Odin is an instant kill 50% of the time, roughly, against any non-heavy bosses. If you get unlucky and get roll Gungnir Spear or Odin about 50 times in a row, depending on your luck. Joe's going to head right into Xstuff's castle. He should know that it's either going to be the Carbuncle spot or the Greg 4 spot, so shouldn't have to check the basement. At the same time, Joe does not have knowledge where this other tablet is. He knows the Shrine page has the 3rd tablet. He does not know where that 4th tablet is. Dry, on the other hand, should be able to skip Greg 4. At the same time, Dry had made a mistake earlier reading his hints, without knowing that the basement wasn't required. We know that from the hints, but it still took the Greg 1 fight. So we'll see if Dry does that sort of mistake again. Odin here, not bad at all. 11,000 HP roughly. Just keep on spamming the Bolt 3. Unfortunately, not very weak to lightning as he is in Free Enterprise or Final Fantasy IV, but weak to just doing damage at this spot. Again, another boss to see. Really nice to see early on. We knew that wasn't going to be a useful key item, and luckily for Joe, it is not a key item at all, so he doesn't have to chase that. Where we see Dry going into the trench fight here, is going to fight his lobster. Joe is going to go up Xstuff's castle. We know that at least one of these bosses, if they don't have a tablet, will lead us to the tablet. Again, Fork Tower is not going to be required this seed, but we can still get a chain. But we will see. We know it's not going to lead to the Steamship Key, but it could lead to the Falls page. We know the Pyramid page is dead. The Mirage Radar is also in play here. So our chains could either be through that Falls page or the Mirage Radar, if there is a chain available. And no surprise, Dry is doing the exact same strat, except now he gets to also dance because the dancers have quite a bit of weaponry if they do hit their sword stance. Sometimes using dancers is just living the RNG life. Sometimes it goes well, and then sometimes when you really, really want dance to finally hit, you get like 7 mystery waltzes and jitterbug duets in a row, and you're just feeling sad. It'd be like that sometimes. So yeah, the closeness of this race is really going to be... Dry certainly has quite a bit of a lead here. He knows where that unhinted tablet is. Joe still needs to go into Shrine to get that 3rd tablet. Also then needs to make the call to go into the Antlion Cave and not follow his instincts and go into into Fork Tower unhinted. Apocalypse here, a residential blue mage. Good if you had blue. Unfortunately, we don't. So we can't do a quick kill here. Weak to bio, so that's why you see Joe using bio. Again, another one of those bosses that I think Dry is going to have an easier time because he's just going to have a higher DPS. We will see if Dry recognizes his hints, knowing that the bracelet is Path to the Void and does not have to go to the basement of Xstuff Castle, or if he's going to do the same thing that he did in Game 1. Saving here does not look like he's reading his hints correctly, but maybe... Okay, no. Decided to save before climbing the tower. Probably is going to try the roulette room. Other than that, there's no real reason to do it. We see Joe taking that one of his characters is divisible by level 5. Luckily not all 4 of his characters. That would be a very rude awakening if all 4 characters died to L5 Doom. Guess I've fallen for that one before. We're just gonna see more bios until Apocalypse is dead and Apocalypse is down. All 32,000 HP of him. We'll see, is this a key item? Or is this a tablet? Or is this nothing and is our answer at the carbuncle spot? Our answer is at the carbuncle spot. And then we get to play another question of, do we want to beat Xdef in his castle? So if you beat Xdef in his castle, because this is being played in open world, means that you do not have to beat him because we already have access to World 3, which in normal seeds would be our prerequisite to get into World 3, but instead we have a choice of 3 key items that cannot be a tablet. In addition, we start phase 1 of Neo Xdef, that is the Tree Xdef phase, in critical HP. So you don't have to deal with the constant Meteo spam, you just attack once, and then you are done. So we do just get the second tablet directly. We'll see if Joe decides he wants to go and fight Xdef to get that week in phase 1. My expectation is he does. He has an Excalibur. Xdef in his castle is very, very weak to Odin. Dryzalizer choosing the correct play and going to the carbuncle spot first. Gets the instant kill with the Doom cast, as Joe did. We'll get his second tablet. He'll be the first person in go mode. Within an hour and 3 minutes, that is about par for the course in terms of Jet Seeds by Judgejoe. I would say he is not gonna bother taking the Xdef fight at the end of the castle here. It's an interesting play. There's not really any setup you need to do here if you're dry, so it would be faster, I feel, to beat Xdef in his castle than it would be to go through 48,000 HP of Tree Xdef. That can ruin your day quite quickly. But Dry decided I don't have the time, or it's not going to be worth the time if I were to go through that. Probably going to rely a little bit on the dance lock, getting him through that Tree Xdef fight quite quickly. But is this going to hop into the void here? We have 4 tablets. He's saying, I don't want to give Joe any more time. Let's just go for it. But this is interesting because ultimately this comes down to a play of how do you kill Almagest in Neo Xdef. If you die to Almagest in a seed in which Xdef is weakened or Tree Xdef is weakened, you lose the time it takes to hit Xdef once. And the transition time, so you're probably out about like 3 or 4 minutes roughly by the time Almagest gets off by 1 death here. But if you're going through 48,000 HP of Xdef and you cannot choke or break the Almagest part in time, because we're not surviving an Almagest here. If we have an Aegis shield on somebody, then there's a chance, 1/3 chance that you just block the Almagest, but that's a pretty risky strat as a whole. Then you would have to do the entire fight over. We do see Joe is gonna take out Xdef in his castle, so he'll have his phase weakening. We'll see what 3 fights he has. Greg 3 in the Califasteria spot, you can do. So he gonna try that. Absolutely worthless key items here. We already have the sub key, which was required to get the trench page. We know that deserts are barren, so Sandworm Bait and the Pyramid Page are both worthless. So nothing worthwhile at all there, unfortunately for Joe. But Joe, I imagine, hopefully will go into Shrine, pick up his 3rd tablet. Maybe not. We'll see where he goes. Is he gonna go up to the 2nd spot in Flying Lanka Ruins, or... I thought he already did the Lanka Meteor. Oh, maybe he doesn't realize that deserts are barren. Unfortunately, we know this isn't gonna turn out to be anything. But I guess he decided this is quick enough. Maybe what he's planning to do is, if this is nothing, he's gonna fight Xdef again and get the Pyramid Page. Unfortunately, that's just going to be more time wasted for, rather unfortunately here. Does not take the reset to go back, or... No, he doesn't. We do see Unfortunately, very annoying here. Venom's an interesting strat. If you let 16 Venom ticks go by, he does eventually kill himself. We do have an Aegis Shield, we do have ribbons, so as long as those are the people who are actually doing damage, then all is fine. We see Joe is taking Boca on a walk, luckily before doing Elder Branch into 4th Tower, so he'll get his 4th tablet unhinted and we'll know that the Shrine is the how to get through the rest of the seed. So we will see. It could be pretty interesting if Dry takes, if we run into something rooted in the void, or if Dry takes a death on Neo X-Def, and this Neo X-Def is not free. You do have to hit a shoat in order to survive. Which, of course, we did just defeat shoat. Unfortunately, that is not the shoat we have to hit. You see Joe going through Aknos here. And he'll be in no mode. So it would not surprise me if we see both racers near or at X-Step at the same time. Joe will have a couple-minute advantage per X-Step fight that needs to be taken, just by doing the Castle X-Step fight. Yeah, Joe should know now that the Shrine is the last place he needs to go. Alright, gonna go into World 3. Now we just gotta take this airship down a little bit. To the left. Looking for Shrine is always the hardest thing in these seeds, but there it is. Go here. We're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna sit here for 2.5 minutes. It's gonna be a nice break. Or Dry is gonna say, I think I'm behind. I'm not going to sit through this. Go. I can get it. I can get the decision here. I think Dry has played well enough that I don't think he should feel behind. But it's gonna be worried about Joe's sort of aggressive play. Joe likes to skip that save point and is deciding, I don't want to waste 2.5 minutes. Fortunately, we know in the booth here that's not going to help things. It's not necessary, but we do get a vanilla catastrophe. So, real fun here. We'll see if Joe bothers opening any of the chests in the Shrine. We know that he would be, well, very happy if he does, because we know both the Brave Blade and the Chicken Knife are in the trap chest in this area. Again, that is a pretty big difference, even depending on what your strategy is. We do see if we come out from Catastrophe, that is going to kill everybody. Little unfortunate there. That is the risk of Catastrophe in the Void. Just without a lot of HP, and these jobs do not get a lot of HP. So Joe is going to get the Brave Blade, but is not, judging by, or maybe he'll just run away and not check this fight again. Dry had to recheck that fight at the Pantera, just like Joe did. But hitting that one lever there probably does suggest that he's not going to get the other monster in the box chest that was the Chicken Knife. So he'll get the Brave Blade from this chest, but not the Chicken Knife. Dry saying, okay, I got the Catastrophe. I know it's there. I'm gonna sit for 2.5 minutes. Which, again, we know it's the correct decision. Yes, this is a quick seed. This, again, Joe is known for rolling these very quick, or having these very fast seeds in the finals. None of these seeds have really taken all that long. We saw early on in the tournament, these seeds were taking a little over 2 hours on average, whereas these seeds in the finals have been closer to about 130, 140. And yes, the skill Both these players and the aggressiveness of these runners have something to do with it. But these have also been very, very quick seeds as well. There's not too much to commentate on. Dry is going and sitting through his 2.5 minute go-go. Joe is going through Shrine. We'll find, I believe Marigine was up here. So find that and fire 3 things into existence.
Joe never got Fire 3.
Oh yes, the Fire 3 was with the Ribbon Girl in World 3, and Joe checked to record World 2. Apparently commands are not working in chat. Good job. I have nothing to do with that, just like everything else. I'm just here saying things. So let's discuss a little bit. As we're sort of nearing the end of the seed, Joe is going to find his last item for go mode and start his thing into the void. He will probably try to skip the save point as well. We'll see if that bites him as much as it did Dry. But Dry is going to take on this catastrophe at its vanilla location. Hopefully doesn't see a quake. And then he'll have 2 more bosses, one at the Halicarnarsa spot at 32,000, roughly, and one at the Twintania spot at 50,000. And then we'll have the final fight of the game, assuming he doesn't go for the Warp Shard point. Only has a few high potions that someone had mentioned in chat. Can be a little bit scary. Luckily we have Golem. But we're going to very much want to take out the Almagest. We have a magic lamp. We did get that early on in the void. That takes out one of the parts of the UX stuff immediately, which is very nice to have because the magic part can ruin your day, quite frankly. I do not believe Dry went back into the castle and got the Apollo's Harp, which surprises me because the Apollo's Harp is just insanely high damage, nearly quad 9 damage against the Grand Cross part of the OX staff. So, because I don't think he took that in this first trip through, because I think he took the Excalibur and the Sage's staff and the Bahamut. So I will be curious to see how this happens. I think that not going into the sealed castle is an interesting play, or I may have forgotten that was there, because if I were the one playing it, I think that would have been a reason for me to have gone back in, just the sheer damage potential. We do have a Dragoon Lance from the tool, from just sitting in tool and the tool monster in the box. I'm curious if Dry had kept that. If his plan is to then dance with the Dragoon Lance to that Grand Cross part. It will also do quite a bit of damage, but just not nearly as much as the Apollo's Harp would do. But we will see. Joe is going for the front of the void. He'll run into his Greg 3 at the Callow spot. Should also know just to doom it. Gets his magic lamp. Who we got at Halicarnarsa? We got Medusa, the Odin here, which Dry does have. He just has to remember he has it. Please remember you have it. You can also please remember that you got it from the trench. Medusa is a non-heavy boss, would be able to take care of this very easily with just a single Odin cast, assuming you do not get the Gungnir Spear or the Heavy Spear. Instead is going through it by damage, so we do get to see a Forza sighting in the finals. Exciting, but probably not something that Dry wanted to see. But you're able to put Forza to sleep. Again, a dance will not wake Forza up here, which is nice to know. Nagisa here also only has half the health of the spot because the other half is actually given to Forza. So could have been faster, but still pretty quick on the kill there. What would be rather unfortunate is if we have another non-heavy boss in the Twintania spot, which is 50,000 HP, and Dry still doesn't realize that he picked up Odin from the Trench reward. But that would just give more time to Judgejoe to make his sort of move back into the race. We will see what happens. Beast Killer Whip doing quite a bit of work. That's what the Freelancer was using against this magical beast of Shout. Although I think he has the Apollo's Harp, so he could do that too. Luckily, just a Chimera Brain. Choose a way to break the spell, break this boss. Like, choke. And there is 50,000 HP gone in approximately, 5 seconds or so. Joe did not get the chicken knife. That was in the off-path monster in the box. Dry saying, I don't need to go back to save for that boss. I don't know if he's gonna go check the Necrophobe spot. The Masamune is hilariously the best item that he could have found there. The Masamune, when used as an item, casts haste. So, he can now give haste to his entire party, including, rather than just having one hasted person with the quick caster here. We'll see if Joe decides to reset out of this, or if he's saying, I don't want to lose multiple minutes by not having the save point. My guess, I don't know what Dry's loadout is, but I would suggest maybe having running shoes on Masa Freelancer, so that way you can get your haste out quicker, but it does look like he is going for this Necro spot. Great Claw, again, free. Choose your favorite Shout spell, and by that I mean choose Shout. I did say that correctly, just Shout. And there goes that boss. And that's 64,000 HP gone in 5 seconds. Probably wants this not only for the save point, but also is probably going to take this time to actually go get some elixirs. We will see if he does go right into Neo X-Def. Alright. He's not gonna go and shop for elixirs here, or high potions. He's just gonna go straight into Neo X-Def. He is gonna have to do the entirety of the damage, which is rather unfortunate. Joe is going to be able to whack Tree X-Def once. But here we go. So, Masamune gets your first action, so he's able to haste. And now we get to play the game of how many times are you going to get White Hold. So White Hold casts Death and Petrify. If you're immune to one, you're immune to both. So the Freelancer will not have to deal with that, nor will the Dancer because of the Ribbon or the Aegis Shield or both. Whereas the Summoner and the Black Mage are both will be vulnerable to either one of those status effects. Which I really wish to set things up. He could have made them all immune to White Hole by abusing a status glitch that enables you to carry over status immunities by one fight. So we'll have to deal with the White Holes coming out here. Again, Joe's, for the most part, not going to have to deal with this. He's going to be able to whack X-Def once and just immediately go into Neo X-Def. So again, we're going to be playing RNG the game here. More dancers you get, the more sword dancers you get, the better this is going to go. The fewer you get, the more dangerous this gets as you whittle down his HP. Because he goes from just doing physical and There's the Aegis Shield block. Physical and white holes into doing things like Holy and Flare and Regio. And those spells are significantly more scary than the white one. You do see that sword dance coming out of the Masamune there, only doing 3,500, so I wonder if he's going to switch over to the Brave Blade now. Looks like that is what we are doing. So that way we can start doing your 5-9s with the sword dance. You do get an Earthshaker from Catastrophe, also enough damage to kill, so both Quake and Earthshaker against for Catastrophe are very scary. We do get this Meteor cast here, and you can just see the numbers coming up, and it is not pretty. Only 2 people go down there. But you can see just how dangerous this very end of the Neo Exta fight is. Has to figure out what does he want to do here, because he's got to be pretty close to getting X-Def into his second phase. Unfortunately, that dancer only knows Summon 4, not Summon 5. Joe is taking on this Catastrophe for a second time. Hopefully now we'll be able to do a little bit more damage faster before he sees an Earthshaker. Normally this is a fight you're not too worried about, but we don't have access to float. But for Dry, he's going to want to pump damage as quickly as possible, just getting out of this sort of frantic X-Step phase. And as we do, the Void begins to devour X-Step. He screams, "Why? And what is Void?" And now, Dry has to deal with 3 of the 4 parts. The 4th part, the back part, can be taken care of by a Magic Lamp Odin cast, so just Magic Lamp twice. And then the 3rd part is Odin, and that kills the back part. But then he's going to be expending a lot of resources getting rid of that Almagest. It is ultimately going to be a question, does he hit an Almagest or does he not? Or does he hit break on Almagest or does he not? If he does not, he will die. He might be able to pump up the damage. It's 55,000 HP to get rid of Almagest. If he gets lucky enough with dances, he would be able to do that before Almagest comes out. The Black Mage, being at low HP, will be susceptible to, say, something like a Delta attack. But we will see what Dry is sort of... what his plan is here in terms of how he wants to prioritize these parts. And even once you get those 2 parts down, it is not a free fight. The Grand Cross, that top part, we do have some immunity by both the Aegis Shield and by the ribbon on the Dancer, and probably a ribbon on that Freelancer as well, which will help things. Joe getting unlucky here, getting another Earthshaker. Catastrophe is a rude boss. Normally, again, if we have access to float, we don't see anything other than Gravity 100, but we do not. And we're all very squishy. So, unfortunately, a little bit of luck is going on here. We see Dry is just going to go for the show. Let's nominally say like 13% chance to hit. But I imagine it's going to be dance on Almagest, or maybe he'll just shoot 3 times and dance on the one who doesn't have Summoner. Again, this is something that needs to be done. If we do not get the shoot kill here, it is GG's, try again. So this is priority number 1. Luckily, the Masamune does give us a few more turns, but it might be coming out just in a second. There is a possibility that the Aegis Shield can block the Almagest. Probably the last effort here. Does not get it. comes out, the Aegis Shield blocks it. Question is, do you continue on with this or do you reset? He's gonna pick up the Black Mage that's still hasted here. Gets a block on the Vacuum Wave, might eat a Grand Cross really soon. Does have a Phoenix Summon. It's probably gonna want to make use of that. But yes, this is a very interesting fight, because this shoot likes to make you believe that you can get through Almagest, but you still have to hit this shoot. Again, that is priority number one here. It is always interesting to think, if you were just focusing on damage, would you have beaten Almagest to death before? We do get a Grand Cross coming out, we have a Charm on the Black Mage, and we have, looks like, no status effect on Galuf. At least I can't see any status effects on it. The issue here, okay, we got the Charm off, that's nice. So, normally when you see Shoat strats, we've been seeing them at pretty low level, but Shoat is, ultimately, it's a level-based spell as well in terms of the accuracy, and we're pretty low level, so the odds of Shoat hitting Almagest comparatively is pretty low. And I'm really starting to think that Dry would have been better off just doing the damage race here. The Demon Eye will always come out, but unless it actually hits the Almagest part, it is worthless. We do see Joe at the Megisa spot, is going to just use that Odin. Gets through it pretty quickly. Does get the show to finally hit. Now we just have two more parts to worry about, the Grand Cross, which and the front part, and if you're not used to Final Fantasy V, this is where it starts getting really interesting, because you have to do even damage to these two parts, or at least roughly even. If you leave one part standing for too long, it likes to go berserk, and it will start doing all sorts of nasty things that start with M and A, such as Meteor and Almagest, and no one has a fun time there. We've seen it a couple times in this Grand Finals where players have gotten lucky actually, and eaten double turns and not died. The back part in that Grand Cross has 5,000 more HP than the front part. So it is something to keep in mind. Dry is certainly aware of that. I assume both of our racers are aware of that. Joe is going to heal because Lennon is poisoned here, and is going to go see his breakable boss, the Chimera Brain, up there. If he hasn't already, maybe I just completely missed it on his side, but he does have it. Dry is going to try to do even damage with the Bahamut cast. That is more than fine. A little bit slower than the Leviathan that Joe is going to have, but it's good either way. And he's got to count damage, but we do see that Sword Dance coming out for massive numbers. This is also where we're glad we have Golem. Again, that's the chicken knife, right? That is something that Dry has that Joe does not. Joe's best weapon is going to be, well, maybe that Dragoon Spear. But other than that, going south a little bit on the stairs, it's gonna be the Brave Blade. And Joe is gonna end up in this X-Step fight. And is, because of the weakened X-Step fight, he will probably be in Neo X-Step at the same time. Dry running out of MP. He does have ethers in his inventory, but not something we really want to do. Gets a Dispel on the Dancer. Probably gonna want to rehaste with the Masamune. And meanwhile, Joe is right there behind him. He's also gonna have to hit a Shoat. on the Omega part. Now that Summoner really doesn't have any, or the Black Mage really doesn't have anything to do. Again, we do have Ethers, but what Dry is going to do here is he's going to kill off this Black Mage, and he's going to use Phoenix to fully restore the MP of the Black Mage. Luckily, hitting that Grand Cross, that might stop this Grand Cross from happening. Now it's probably going to Phoenix. So that Black Mage will now have full MP. We see the difference in the sprite here, signifying that XDEF was weakened in the fight there. We do see Dry took out the Grand Cross part, has one more part remaining to finish this off and win the match. Is going to eat a double turn here. Just 2 vacuum waves. The 2 mages go down. It's gonna do a sword dance. This should do it. 10,000 damage. Get your GGs in chat. Dryzalizer does come back from the loser's side, down 2-0 in the best of 5, and takes the match, takes the tournament for his first tournament win with an official race time of 1:33.04. And just as sort of a theme of these 5 matches, or 4 matches that we played so far, and the 3 others that they played earlier in the tournament, came down to the very end. Joe, again, being at Neo XF, or basically really close by Neo XF while Dry finishes. This has been a theme between these 2 racers. This has been an amazing race of Jet Seed. Both played very, very well, and we are joined by our tournament winner, Dryzalizer. GG's to you.
Thanks. GG's to Joe. That was a wild Jet Seed.
Yes, it is something I believe you and Joe are both familiar with now. Just these Jet Seeds that he likes to give in the finals. Wonderfully played. There's only a couple things I want to ask here, but first off, congratulations on winning the tournament, coming back from the losers bracket after Judgejoe did knock you down there. Wonderful races between both of you in every single match, so GG's to you, man.
Yeah, they were good races. I'm sure that Joe was very close on my heels this time. I actually made some mistakes early, which maybe is what you're going to ask me about, because I was like, this is happening too fast. And I actually had this hint in my head, which is wrong. I could have sworn that the very first hint we got from the Tycoon Chancellor said that Karnak was Path of the Void, and I thought it meant the Karnak escape. But now that I look at my notes, no, it just said that Karnak had the Ifrit's Fire, and that was a total...
Yep.
I didn't need to get the steamship key, but I was chasing it for a while.
Luckily for you, you got that 4th tablet sitting there in Boko's walking place.
Yeah, that was, in a weird way, maybe the hint that I misunderstood ended up helping me, because I went to World 3 maybe earlier. I mean, we knew we had to go to World 3 because of the shrine being Path.
You also got
we
the
knew
double
also we had to go to Bal, because of the double Bal hint.
Yep.
But I always check Tool Pass early when I go to World 3 just for some extra experience or something, because it's quick, and that was huge. But yeah, I was a little aimless, and I felt slow early, and then was basically just relying on instant kill knowledge. And then I think maybe something that might have affected Joe was that vanilla catastrophe fight, which I knew I could just RNG him. Like, eventually he wouldn't quake me in his first couple turns, and I would win.
Yeah, so I will say the difference there in the catastrophe. So you entered the Void, actually, Joe still had 2 tablets to find, but he was fighting the Antlion Cave and then had to go to Shrine. but I will say he got some pretty unlucky stuff on the catastrophe. He actually did take the go-go without resetting the first time, so that was the difference between you two. At the same time, Joe hit the first try shout on Only Guest, so there's
first try.
There's a little bit of evening there. But yeah,
how many did it take me? I don't even know how many it took me. It was quite a few.
I want to say like 15.
And did you like how I didn't reset because I knew I was going to get that Aegis block?
I was commenting on it because particularly you were in go mode, so you decided not to take Castle X-Def, which was an interesting decision, I thought, because you knew at the end of the day you were going to be relying on shout luck. And so I was a little bit confused. You're already up there about just not taking the 20 or 30 seconds it would probably have taken you to beat X-Def in his castle, just to make sure that if you were getting ridiculously unlucky on shout, it wouldn't be that big of a time loss. But I figure that's why you took the Necro spot in Crayclaw.
Yep, I wanted the save point in case I needed to redo the refight again because shout would miss, and I definitely should have taken Castle X-Def at the time. I had gotten the key item. I think it was from the Carby spot. Yeah, and I was like, fastest thing to do is just leave, not do any more here. But yeah, I do regret not doing Castle X-Def. I should have done him, and that would have been because there's no need for setup with this team. So yeah, that was a mistake. At
that time, you didn't even know that there was going to be a Masamune sitting in the forest. So
I got so lucky with so many treasures that I found. Early, middle, late. Like, stuff in the shrine was so good. Chicken knife.
Yeah, the big difference, you went into the shrine a lot earlier than Joe did. Joe actually did the shrine last. And since he was in no mode and go mode at that point, whereas you were not, because you hadn't gone to Antlion at that point, you went by and figured probably you were too low of a level, let's just go take the trap chest just to see what we get in terms of damage, and you luck into both the Brave Blade and the Chicken Knife, whereas Joe didn't go really off the beaten path, so he got the Brave Blade from the hidden chest there, but didn't take the other lever to the Chicken Knife, and you don't need us to tell you how much better the Chicken Knife is to the Brave Blade.
Yeah, it was ridiculous luck, I have to admit. I feel like I got more lucky than I was good in this race. Like I said, I was actually sort of chasing the wrong thing early, and then Shrine just ended up being like place to loot and the place to take some fights, and it just all paid off huge in there.
Yeah,
everywhere else too, the looting the forest with Masamune and all that.
Yeah, I mean, you both stumbled into the same sort of luck. Joe actually took the Moogle suit as well, went into Moogle Waterway into Moogle suit, and that had Leviathan in there. So that's what he's been using to kill Neo X-Def. He's at one part remaining here. Should get this down pretty quickly, gets to paralysis on the Grand Cross, so should be done relatively shortly. Just needs to get
he's got himself a whip, that's good.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't go back for the Apollo's Harp and Seal Castle, actually.
Yeah, I wish that I had taken it to start and not taken the Sage Staff. As soon as I took Sage Staff, I was like, oh, those always appear multiple times in a seed, but Apollo Harp is usually you never see it more than just once, and so I was like, oh, I should have taken that. But and I also sold that Dragoon Spear, which I could have potentially danced with against the Grand Cross Part 2, so...
I do want to.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of mistakes, even though I won this race. I made a lot of mistakes.
I do want to say Judgejoe did finish up his Neo X-Def fight very well and finished with a time of 1:40.14. So GG's to you, Judgejoe, who is joining us in the booth as well. Another jet seed from yours truly, right?
Yeah, I mean, any seed that's open and isn't a spear like 17 is technically can be a jet seed.
That is true, especially something this open. So tell me how you're feeling about that seed. There was only a couple differences between you and Dry, actually, in terms of places you visited.
I feel like my early game was kind of bad. But
that was me too, though.
Yeah,
very bad.
One of the biggest differences between both of you is that Dry likes to check Rugor and
Yep.
World 3 immediately, and the Ribbon Girl had Fire 3.
Oh, neat. Okay.
And
And then there
then-
was also Fire Rods and Thunder Rods in Fire Town that also dry checks early.
He
I
went
didn't
into
do
Karnak
that
pretty
this
late
time.
too, actually.
There was I usually go Karnak early. I usually don't like to buy stuff at Rugor. I like to just get the item and the hint, but there was wizard rods there, and I like sold everything I had to buy them, and then I didn't go to Karnak for a while. So I played things a little different this time, and for no real reason, but
I mean, luckily for
Can
both of
we talk
you,
about those running shoes?
yeah, really nice
Excuse
to
me?
find an early pair of running shoes because that was this team's weakness. No haste.
until the bosses
There
showed up
was a Masamune.
at the end.
Right in the void, but it's nice to have running shoes in Tool.
How?
I mean, one time running shoes were in licks in the music box, right? And
Isn't that-
made,
But this is Tool.
yeah, they're both the same tier, I believe, actually. But
Nope. Just a lot of good loot in this seed, and it was
Yeah.
surprising me constantly, basically.
The
Yeah,
very early bosses was rude. The Void was only one boss that could be rude. Well, I guess maybe others could, but there was only one rude boss in the Void.
yeah, well, it's
Yeah,
curious whether or not
catastrophe.
Dry actually realized he had Odin when he got to Megisa.
Forgot about it. I knew I had it, but I forgot about it when I fought her, and we got to see Forza, the rarely seen Forza sighting.
Nice. So was it first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth try for your catastrophe?
I think it was second try. I knew I could just RNG him, but I actually did your move and skipped Go-Go because I thought that it was a waste of 2 minutes. And then when I died to Catastrophe, I decided, okay, I'm going to do Go-Go so I can try over and
Go-Go
over
was,
again.
It was a bit more than 2 tries for me at catastrophe.
Just a little. I would say the RNG is sort of made up for it when Dry got like 15th try shout and you got first try shout. So
That doesn't happen to me. What do you mean? I look at race room, see finish, go, well, I'm just going to finish up my Ned fight, and then it goes first try shout.
So I will
Excuse
say
me?
it was actually very close. Dry didn't kill Castle X staff, and so if he hadn't gotten an Aegis Shield block, which was a third chance of blocking with the Aegis Shield and Almagast, we would have had very dueling Neo X staff fights at the end there.
I can't
And-
believe that actually happened.
And you would have had the power of Leviathan spamming, and Dry would have had the power of Chicken Knife, which was in the other monster in the box in Shrine.
Oh, of course it was. The one that required you going through weird tunnel that I didn't want to go to.
Yep.
But Brave Blade and
Yep.
Chicken Knife and Shrine, of course that was.
Pretty crazy. Like I was saying before you stepped in, Joe, I feel like I got more lucky than played well in this seed.
I mean, you say that for the last 2 seeds, but that you've just been getting lucky. Once is maybe luck. Once you go and win 3 times in a row, that's something past luck.
I think you both were.
Yeah, I mean, I did get lucky in all 3 games, but there was some making your own luck in terms of maybe checking a little more loot or preparing in a certain way with your jobs and stuff. Like I did have 3 people casting shout at last fight.
I was set up for 4, but yeah.
4, nice.
Because I
Should have done 4.
I had my immediately upon Summoner and Black Mage getting theirs, I swapped once. Then I mastered those jobs, swapped that to a Dancer, and then once I had a Summoner Dancer mastered, that became Freelancer, and I had Summon 5 on the person on the Dancer who was sitting, who had become a Summoner. So I ended up with, and then my Dancer Freelancer ended up just chucked into a Summoner class at the end. I went and had 2 people with a ribbon, 1 person with the Aegis shield, 1 person with running shoes. Guess who got white hold?
Ooh, unlucky there. I think I only had 2 people with white hole protection, and I definitely ate 1 at least.
Well, the thing about you, Dry, is that you had to go through all the HP, and Joe literally just had to tap X staff.
I was going to chuck 1 haste, throw the lamp, and he chose to, in the time for me to menu my Masamune and have the person with running shoes use the item, to just white hole the 1 in person.
I mean, it sort of
Yeah,
reminds
he's
me.
really rude.
I think it was game 2 where Dry hit Lena got the white hold like 7 times in a row. I think.
Yeah, that was just like an annoyance because I knew that like the fight was over once I buffed up. So it's just like, all right, how long is Ted gonna?
Yeah, I think
keep
that
this
was
up,
the first.
you know?
Bard Blue Mage was our first one.
Yeah, it was the second race where I got white hold many times. By my Lena got white hold many times, I think, if I remember right. But yeah, they're all sort of running together. But
I think it was the one race of these 4 that I won was the one you got those white holes at the when trying to sing. So that would be our first of 4 or second, depending on how you categorize the winners bracket round 1. But yeah, GG's, congrats on winning the tournament.
Thanks. I'm more
Unfortunately, the
relieved.
power of Lena's slot 1 failed me.
Oh, too bad. Yeah, I don't bother to switch that around, but style points matter. If I bothered to take the time, I'd probably put Ferris slot 1.
Fair
the
enough.
Fastest, but that was it was a crazy sequence of games that we had there, Joe.
Yeah, so I did a pretty early Odin spot. I was getting bonked by a lot of checks. I finally went and realized with my hair clip I had enough for a Bahamut on the Bahamut. And so I went there, but Timmy didn't have. I missed the 2 dooms on the Black Mage when I tried it. It took me 3 tries when I went back to it with a bunch more levels, but.
Yeah, Timmy's got that shell and good magic evade. I tried 1 doom and it missed, and I said, forget it, we'll do bolt 3s.
Yeah, I think I might have not quite gone to that shop yet, or whatever.
I think I had an ice rod from Shiva too that I should have broke on him, but I forgot to do.
Yeah, Omniscient was the first boss. Necrophobia was the second boss.
Oh, yeah, nice to get them out of the way early.
Yeah, you're gonna be thinking they're being like, I'm glad these are here and not at Twintania this time.
I'm like, I am also glad these are here, but also, man, did it feel slow. It took me like 3 or 4 resets to figure out I needed to break the ice rod with my summoner on Omniscient, but
yeah, I must have done something like that too. I don't remember exactly.
Venom Rod wasn't enough. Hitting it with the X-Cow wasn't enough. That's about all the options we had at that point. You could break, I guess, well, if you had a gold hairpin, maybe you have enough MP for a Bolt 3.
Yeah, I think what I had was like Fire 2. I cast it a couple times, and then I knew that Excalibur Swing would finish him off.
I hadn't gotten Fire 2 yet, so yeah, I tried Ice 1 I was trying to chip like 100 Ice 1, and then he healed 1 set at 25 a time, just to get hopefully like 150 with the X-Cow. And then he just, the innate regen healed 175, and I went, alrighty, that is not the strat.
I also had Wizard Rods already at that time, so my spells were boosted. It was so early in the seed, maybe you didn't have that.
I had Ice Rod and a Venom Rod. Those were my rods at that point.
Yeah. You can't break them on Omni or else he resets. You have to cast a spell. So I had
If it kills, it
boosted
works. Then
spells.
apparently, Omni can cast Flare there.
He always
only a
casts
10
flare when he dies. Yeah.
Okay,
That's his
Omni
death
always
move.
can cast Flare, but
Yeah.
and then Minotauros, for whatever reason, that Lanka isn't able to cast Holy, despite I feel like other early World 1 checks he still can.
It's because Omniscient, I think in almost every spot, has at least 40,000 MP. So the 10 MP to cast Flare doesn't really mean too much.
So what you're saying is, attempting to go and get rid of the MP is not a strat that you should attempt in any sort of race scenario.
Not in a race, but I've seen it in a 4-job scenario. Don't do it.
Right. Well, I did get a Mystery Waltz against Minnow, and he didn't have the MP for Holy, which was kind of nice.
That might have been what happened to me also. I might have ended up with a Mystery Waltz, but because I had to break 2 rods, so I might have had one dance do that. That would explain
he doesn't gain much MP as he sort of gets higher and higher tier, but I was happy because I needed the experience on everybody, you know.
Yeah, by the time I went to that meteor, I had already completed the Pearl Burrows at Odin, so my XP was pretty nice. But yeah, it took me. I was still level 9 at the 20-minute mark, or 22 or so. So my early game just got off to a very slow start.
Well, my head is still a little bit spinning from that seed. If you want to see somebody get lucky, you can watch watch what I did when you watch it back, and ridiculous at the end. I even had to rely on a sword dance to finish and got it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not like actually all that proud. I'm more just happy that the tournament is over because it's enough stress.
It's over. We're free.
No, Joe, you
Exactly.
still have free enterprise.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, good luck to you guys with that. I'll be watching.
No, I mean, you claimed this was a little bit of luck, but I think you both showed some really great skill. I mean, regardless of how much items you get in various places for your jobs this time, nothing like actually seeing a Bahamut that you can pick up and use in Sealed Castle within 5 minutes. But you don't get 130s and 140s even in this setting without being really good at the game. So, I mean, really well done to both of you, certainly not only for this race, but for all the races that you've done through the tournament, and especially in the sets that you both have had against each other. I do want to get a chance to ask Lily if you have any questions as well, since Lily was behind the scenes tracking as well and giving a little bit of commentary when she wanted or when she could jump in.
Nothing really, except when did you realize that we had 2 Battle Castle Path of the Void hints?
I noticed just that, that there were 2 hints that both said Battle Path, and I wrote them down, so I knew. I don't remember the exact order that I did things in, but I knew that I was going to have to go to those spots. I might have done Castle World 2 first, then gotten the hint. Not sure exactly about the order, but yeah.
Yeah, for me, I got the shrine page so I knew that was definitely what my first Battle Castle hint was definitely talking about. And then I got the bracelet, that could definitely end up being required in some way, even if it's not technically required. And then, 2 hints after that, I get my second Battle Castle Path of the Void hint, and I go, I guess I'm looking for the anti-barrier.
I do have to say, Dry, though you didn't take Castle XF, I do want to tell you that the 3 items that were from Castle XF were the sub key, which of course is required to get into Castle XF, and the Sandworm Bait, and the Pyramid Page. And there was a hint. I don't know, Joe, if you ever went into more, but there is a hint that said deserts were barren. So...
Oh, yeah, I never did. That's the hint I forgot to check. Whoops. Oh well. That does not change an 8-minute time difference.
No,
or
but
7.
I mean, it was good that you checked the. Well, two things. It was good that you didn't check the pyramid page and you took.
Oh no, that's so slow. If I got the pyramid page, maybe, but no.
And
think,
thank you for not going into more forests and going up Fork Tower before checking Boko.
I was
So,
considering. I think if it wasn't Boko, next was Underwater Waltz, and then Fork and Moor was my next play. But I mean, at that point, I don't think I had other plays. But
the Biblical Imperial Valley, I believe, was the other one that neither of you actually were able to beat.
North Mount, or not North Mountain.
Hiryu Valley.
Hiryu Valley, I might have gone and stopped by with Odin and just done a quick whip through of that.
Or Big Bridge or Barrier Tower. So
I did Big Bridge.
Sorry, Big Boat. Ziza Fleet.
Oh, the fleet.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Ziza Fleet,
Joe
probably
and I both
not, but...
And Dry, thank you for not checking the Greg 1 spot when you were in go mode.
Hey, I remember. I thought of you, Fiery, as I was doing that, as I was skipping that check, because I messed that up before. But I think Joe and I both like to fade the pyramid because it's slow. Of course, there was a hint this time saying avoid it, but Joe didn't get that hint, and he still stayed away from it. So well done.
Well, I never did get the pyramid page. I just wanted the quick check and see. When I'm picking a random key item to go and chase from X-Death, I'm just going to pick the quick one. Or the Mirage Radar. Whichever
I was glad
is
to see
easier.
no Mirage this time. Don't need it.
No Phoenix Tower, none of that.
Nah.
Holiness, yeah, I agree.
I don't think we even had any Phoenix Tower this grand finals.
That's nice, because it was game 1, right, between you two when your first set that had Mirage Radar and Wind Shrine? Was that between... or was that you
I
and
don't remember that. Maybe.
That was, I think, me and Freddy.
Oh, okay.
Game 1 between me and Dry, I believe we chose a Geomancer, and there was a Mirage Radar sitting in North Mountain. And Dry did that, and there was a Necrophobia in Moor Forest that I took 10 minutes to wipe to.
Yes, now I do remember.
That was during the upper bracket.
Yeah.
Our upper bracket match, yeah. But the cool thing is that between our upper bracket match and the grand finals, we each won the same number of
3.
games
You won 4.
until
you
this
won
final.
4.
Yeah. But we were tied 3-3 if you add up all the times we played in the tournament. So this really was sort of the decider. Yeah.
This was a World Series, essentially, or a Stanley Cup final, or NBA Finals, whatever American sport game is. Best of 7. That is indeed what this was. And again, I wanted to thank both you, Dry, and you, Judgejoe, for putting on a wonderful show in each of these races. If you are interested in Career Day content, do give these guys a follow. If you're interested in Free Enterprise, Judgejoe is also there as well. Lily again for tracking. I will let you guys go give final thoughts if you have any.
I just want to thank everyone who helped put this tournament together. I had a very fun time. It was my second tournament, so happy that I still can enjoy it. Slightly I was really hoping to win, but Dry is a very fantastic person, and I'm glad he managed to pull it off also. I've learned a lot from watching his other races in the past, and without watching some of his stuff, I don't think I'd have quite gotten as much skill. He's always willing to answer any questions I have. It's great.
Well, thanks, Joe. Also a great fun person to race against. Really glad that we had a very friendly finals and everything here. Thanks to the admins for putting the tournament together. Thanks to Fiery and Lily for commentary and tracking this time. And just if anybody's still actually around in the chat listening to us babble, you can join, Career Day Discord if you want to play this randomizer, and yeah, we will try and help you out.
Lily, any final thoughts?
Nope.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all again. I do want to give a shout out to SpeedGaming for letting us host the last few rounds of this tournament. Started with 16 players and got down to 1, so GG's again, Dry. And again, also a thanks to the other admins of the Career Day tournament, those being Z-Man, Winfox, IB, Karma, and Freddy, for putting this together. Drossi as well for being sort of the SpeedGaming admin, helps out a lot behind the scenes. Always wonderful to showcase this randomizer on this platform. We will be having some various things in the meantime, trying to get some more community races, showcase that on our sort of personal channel of FF5 tourney. So take a look for that. We're going to try to set something up, try to get some more community involvement, get some more active racers, and we'll see where we go from there. But with that, I want to thank everyone who participated in this tournament, everyone who helped out behind the scenes, Rom Scout being another particular person I want to shout out. European Rumsteins. Yeah, sorry. Wow. I don't even know why I'm thinking Rom Scout, an old friend of mine as well. But yes, Romstein for doing a lot of work behind the scenes, especially at very odd hours. Wonderful guy. I look forward to commentating, restreaming with him as well. With that, I will let everyone go finish off the rest of their evenings, and we hope to see you guys around either in SpeedGaming in the future or our own tournament channel that we have as well. But with that, I hope you all have a good and wonderful night, and we'll see you next time.